the anxiety that you feel in life and the frustration that you feel and the restless movements and the irregular breathing, all this comes about because you think you need to be doing something. Okay? You think that somehow, if you just do the right thing in your life, things will work out magically and it'll just change. Okay? So when you meditate, you're trying to figure out, well, how can I experience a state of consciousness where I can access that power to change these things? All right. Now, the reason that's important is because when you're meditating, the point of that is to simply be as you are. So to be yourself. So right now, as you're sitting there, just be as you are. Okay. Then, when you can do that, I know we mentioned this before, the universe or your higher self or your greater self takes notice that things are okay. Because that experience that you have in this outward consciousness, it all comes from your inner state of consciousness. So if you're anxious about something, if you're paranoid about things, if you're worried about things, and that's your inner state of consciousness, the universe is going to take note of that and it's going to say, well, this person's anxious, frustrated, paranoid, upset, so we're going to give him something, or her, something to be paranoid, frustrated, anxious, or upset about. Because that's the inner state. The world responds to your inner state. Now, if that's your habit, you need to accept that as just your habit, the way you've been doing things, the way you've been being for so long. But by meditating, you go in and you're starting to change that habit. You're starting to say, okay, I know I have all these things which are bothering me, but I'm going to change that. So I'm going to focus on this internal peace that I have inside. And the more you do that, the more you retrain your internal consciousness to reflect that clarity of your true self. And then eventually, that starts happening in your real life. Okay? That's why when people start meditating, sometimes they get frustrated at first because nothing's changing. It's because all they're doing is sitting there practicing a technique. They're not actually feeling the stillness within themselves. Okay? In the Kriya Yoga tradition, we're going to go over that here in a minute, a preliminary practice, the pulling the current up the spine. Pulling the current up the spine, that pranayama, is simply a technique to get you internalized and to pay attention to your stillness. The therapeutic aspect of the meditation practice occurs when you simply exist and rest in that stillness. Okay? So, don't get hung up on practices. What you're doing is practicing the technique until you can hang out in that stillness, and once that stillness is there, you simply be that stillness. I mean, you're always that stillness, but you just pay attention to that stillness. And then that becomes reflected in your outside experience. Okay? So that's one way you overcome anxiety, frustration, restless movements of the body, and irregular breathing. And remember, when you're meditating, there's nothing you can do to stop that anxiety. So if you have problems in your life, when you're meditating, that's not the time to think about all the things that you can change within your life, all the physical actions you can take in your life. Okay? You do that when you're not meditating. All right? And that's where a lot of people get hung up. They think about these things when they're meditating, but then when they go live their life, they don't do anything different. So nothing changes. So meditation is about sitting within the stillness. And once you're within that stillness, then you're done. And you say, well, what can I do? What do I need to change within my external environment to take care of this frustration? And then you take the simple steps to do that. That's the outward aspect of yoga practice, of living your life. All right? Now, to overcome these obstacles, one can meditatively concentrate on a chosen object or ideal. Now, concentrating on a meditative object or ideal, that's simply the technique you use. That can be breath awareness, that can be pranayama, that can be thinking about God, that can be asking who you are, trying to figure out what you are. That's the focus you give, and that's how you overcome that obstacle, or those obstacles. Now, the mind is purified by cultivating thoughts and feelings of friendship for others, compassion for others who are suffering, happiness for the well-being that others enjoy, and dispassion regarding what is observed. One thing I like about Asheville is all the bumper stickers. And I was driving down the road, and I saw a bumper sticker that said, if you want better neighbors, be better to your neighbors. Okay? And, I thought about that, and that's right here. If you want better neighbors, if you want to have peace with people, you don't just sit there and think, well, I can't stand the way this person acts, or they're really getting on my nerves, whatever it might be. The way you improve the relationship with the folks around you is by being better to them. and then they will be better to you. Even if they're the most cantankerous person or the most annoying person, if you're better to them, then they will work with you in a way that will make you happy too. Because people like to get attention. People like for people to think good things about them. And if you do that, then they will do the same thing for you. And they'll become more considerate of whatever you need. Okay, so that was summed up in a bumper sticker, and it's part of the Yoga Sutras here. Remember, all of the experiences you have come from these internal states. So if people around you are experiencing good fortune, and that bothers you, now think about that. Have you ever seen someone who's been successful in something and you just got a little bit jealous about it? Has that ever happened to any of you? You've been jealous of other people's good fortune. Maybe they got a raise, maybe they got a new car, new guitar, or whatever it might be. And you're like, well, gee, I wish I had that experience. The same thing goes for people who seem very still and peaceful inside, and they're yoga teachers or whatever it might be, and people are like, well, surely you can experience that state. All you have to do is meditate, all day long or whatever it might be. But most of those folks do other things and just sit around and meditate all day long. They get the internal state right, and then the rest of it just works out in and of itself. Okay, so keep that in mind. Jealousy, all those things, doubting yourself because you don't have the same opportunities of other people, you can make those opportunities. Okay, and you start making those opportunities by changing the way you feel inside about yourself and others. All right. Now, that also makes you happier too. Now, Sutra 34, or this is what we're going to get into today. One may definitely overcome all such obstacles by practice of pranayama. All right, one more time. One may definitely overcome all such obstacles by practice of pranayama. All of you know what pranayama is? It's breathing, essentially. Okay, it's tuning into your breath. And there's many different types of pranayama. A very simple pranayama is simply to watch your breathing. To let that be the focus of your attention. So wherever you are, you're sitting, and you feel the breath coming into your body, and you feel the breath coming out of your body. You can feel the lungs expanding. You can feel the air coming in through the nostrils. Whatever it might be, you're just paying attention to the breath at the exclusion of all else. All right. So thoughts come in, you get distracted by daydreams. That's fine. Don't fight them. Just bring your attention right back to the breath. You're treating it like it's like you're having a conversation with someone in a noisy restaurant. You pay attention to the person, not to the other stuff that's going on. And then in time, the more you do that, all these other things start to fade away, and you're in that state of stillness, focusing on the breath.